Erosion of the Land and Erosion of the People, Illinois in the Great Depression. President Franklin D. Roosevelt instituted a number of reforms and programs in the 1930s to counteract the adverse economic impacts caused by the Great Depression. The creation of the Federal Resettlement Administration in 1935, an effort to relocate struggling urban and rural families, resulted in the formation of the Resettlement Administration Historical Section, whose primary mission was to photographically document what Roy Stryker, the historical section director, characterized as the unpainted houses, unkempt yards, eroded fields, and the social and environmental chaos that stretched itself along the roads. The level of effort to conduct this first-time nationwide photographic survey was Herculean in scope, a snapshot of the United States that has not been repeated since the photographic project ended in 1943. Part 1 provides an introduction to this unique photographic collection, accomplished through personal interviews and discussions with the original photographers recorded in 1979, complemented by many examples of their photographs taken during the period from 1935 to 1943. Part 2 showcases Illinois during the Great Depression as seen through the camera lens of these talented Resettlement Administration photographers.
During the days of the Great Depression, under the administration of President Roosevelt, there were many programs that were started to help farmers throughout the country. And one of them, under Henry Wallace, who was Secretary of Agriculture, was the Resettlement Administration. And the Resettlement Administration was set up to show some of the difficulties that farmers were having throughout the country, problems of tenant farms, sharecroppers, the environmental problems such as the soil erosion and results of droughts in various parts of the country. The Resettlement Administration had programs to correct this. Well, in order to make a record of all of this activity, Rex Tugwell, who had been the Resettlement Administrator, invited an associate of his, Roy Stryker, to head up the historical section of the Resettlement Administration. And Roy, being a great believer in photographs and the power of pictures, Roy decided to make this record, this historical record, with photography. I was very fortunate. I had been a senior at Columbia, and I knew Tugwell, I knew Stryker. And as soon as I graduated and got my BA degree, I was invited to join Roy in Washington at the very start of the program. So I was the very first photographer that Roy Stryker hired in this historical section of the Resettlement Administration. Later on, a couple of years later, they changed the name of the Resettlement Administration to the Farm Security Administration. And it has been known ever since as the FSA Photographic Project. We had some very fine photographers who joined the group. Many of them had been working in Washington already in other agencies or in other capacities. One of them was Walker Evans, who taught me a great deal. A fine photographer, great technician, wonderful artist. The other one was Ben Shawn, who was basically a painter, but who believed in using photographs as a way of making notes for his paintings. And so they were like a photographic sketchbook. And these photographs in themselves were valuable statements and valuable images. A third was Dorothea Lange. Dorothea Lange, who had been working with migrant workers in California, became a part of the project. And she was a woman of great sensitivity, great feeling, emotion. She went out into the field and worked with people. She had a great understanding of people at all levels, and she produced some very memorable photographs. Probably the one that is most famous is the one of the woman in the migrant camp with her two children huddled around her. And then, of course, there was Russ Lee, who came to work in the Farm Security Administration in 1937. Russ also traveled a great deal in the field and covered many of the areas that I was in at different times so that our photographs sort of supplement each other. People came and went in this photographic project, FSA project. I was replaced with Jack Delano, and Jack took my place. When Carl Maidans, who had been one of the early photographers in the project, left to take a job with Life magazine, that's when Russell Lee came in. So that there were altogether probably 10 photographers that contributed to this large photographic file. It's in Washington, D.C., in the Library of Congress, some 270,000 photographs. Farm security photographs contributed greatly to the work of other photographers and to the work of other artists, in fact. A good example is the fact that John Steinbeck, in writing his book, The Grapes of Wrath, drew heavily upon the photographs that were in the farm security files. And when the film was made, the famous film, The Grapes of Wrath, with Henry Fonda in the role of the young Okie who was going to California, many of the scenes in that film were based on photographs that I had made, or that Dorothea Lange had made, or Russ Lee had made. In fact, I have one picture, one still from the movie, The Grapes of Wrath, that is almost identical to a photograph that I made.